Hi, this is Toshiba from JLJ, Jazz Love Japan. Today I just want to talk about again the Blue Note reissues by Toshiba EMI in the 90s. Because I had a question from one of the members of JLJ asking me, if all the reissues, Blue Note reissues here in Japan in the 90s, digital or analog based. They use a digital source or analog source. So that was the question, because it seems that many jazz collectors outside of Japan think that all those reissues in the 90s done by the Toshiba EMI are digital source that they used. And the answer is no. They didn't use the digital source at all. They just used the analog master tape. I don't know which kind of master tape that they used during that time. I don't know. Well, there is no information about that, but it is clearly stated that by the Toshiba EMI and some other sources here in Japan that during that time in the 90s, they didn't use any digital source to press those Blue Note reissues or analog. Especially if you are a good ear, hearing that sound, there is no digital sound coming out of those reissues. They're all analog based. So that's the thing. And I just today want to add some kind of additional information on top of that 90s reissues by the Toshiba EMI. I showed you these these are another samples of the Blue Note reissues by the Toshiba EMI in the early 90s, what I call the LP and BSD series. As you know, in the early 90s, from 1990 to 1993, they released many Blue Note titles with this series. They are all analog based, of course, and they sound very good. I already told you about that, right? The pressing quality and the sound quality are amazingly good, even to compare to the Toshiba reissues. Toshiba Blue Note reissues in the 80s. BNJ and some BLP series back in the 80s or in the 70s, like LNJ series, or to compare to the King Record reissues like GXF, GXK. I think these BLP and the BST series by the Toshiba EMI, I think are great. They cut very loud. Even the bass sound and also the cymbal sound and the high tone, very good, wide range, and the sound is much clearer, and also the dynamic. As I said in the previous video, if you don't have it this series, it's better for you to dig in, really. It's that good. And as I said in the previous video, that all of these series, the BLP and the BSD in the early 90s, they used another company to cut and press, because at that time in the 90s, Toshiba EMI had already given up their own pressing plant, analog production plant, no more, because of the CD era. So they used Toyokase to cut and press. So I think Toyokase did a great job, to recreate the sound of RBG. Even the London jazz collector, was amazed by the sound quality. Really, it's that good. And it's funny that in the 90s, even with this, the LP and the BSD series, Toshiba EMI reissued many titles, really many. I don't know how many titles, hundreds of titles of Blue Note, and many of them were never reissued before by the King Record and also the Toshiba EMI before. In the 80s, 70s, they never reissued those titles. But now, in the 90s, in the CD era, they, they reissued like crazy. Yeah, hundreds of titles. Yeah, they reissued them, and with high quality. Yeah, it's a kind of interesting story, right? And also, after that, they didn't stop. After that, it is interesting that they reissued some, 1,500 titles, all mono. Yeah, all mono. I think it was in 1994. Yeah, in the mid 90s. After this series, they they released another series called Blue Note BLP 1500 series. Yes, there are not many titles that they reissued with that series. I don't know how many, but more than 30 titles, I guess. Yes, and I'll show you one of them, as a sample. Yeah, this is the sample that I have. As you know, this is the your hip at the Hickory House, I think. Volume 2. Yeah, volume 1 and volume 2, right? But this one is volume 2. And this is one of the titles that they reissued in that series, Blue Note 1500 series, collection series. And it is funny and interesting that with this series, they used the original mono master tape from the US. Yeah, I don't know how they got it, but they were advertising that they used the original mono master tape, and all the titles reissued in this series are mono, no stereo at all. And again, they used Toyokase to cut and press. Yeah, this series. And I'm sure not many jazz collectors outside Japan know this series, Blue Note LP 1500 collection series. That's the title, yeah, of the series. Yes, and the same as these BST and a BLP in the early 90s, this 1500 1500 in the LP collection series, the pressing quality and the sound quality are very good, really superb. Yeah, the sound is very dynamic, and they again try to recreate the sound of RBG, that's for sure. So if you don't know this series, Blue Note LP 1500 collection series, again, I recommend you to get it and dig it. Really, it's good. So it's funny that in the middle of CD era, Toshiba EMI did release these Blue Note reissues like crazy. Yeah, it's very interesting, right? And the quality that they produced during that time in the 90s, very good. Yeah, they're very good, and I believe that they were sold very good too. That's why they continued reissuing those titles like crazy. Yeah, so that's the fact, and I think it's a interesting story, right, for the Blue Note reissue history here in Japan. So that's it for today. I hope you like it, and as I said, I recommend you to dig this early 90s BLP and the BST series by Toshiba, and with the same Toshiba in the mid 90s, Blue Note LP 1500 collection series, and it's better for you to get it. That's it for today, and I hope to see you again. Bye bye.